Hi class, welcome to our video walkthrough for computing mean and standard deviation. This occurs after we've talked about some descriptive statistics from chapter 12, and we're ready to actually do it with the data from Professor Bob and his study on student perceptions of research methods. But first, let's learn a few skills in Excel before we cross over to JASP. Our task list, we're going to compute the mean and standard deviation in Excel. We're going to work on data from our scenario, as in computing mean and standard deviation in JASP using Professor Bob's data. And we're going to write a narrative description of the sample of what's going on with those variables. So let's get started. First, you're going to need your lab sheet and the data files Alpha Bravo and ComputeMSD. Now both of these are CSVs, which is comma separated values, but download all of them and then put them someplace that makes sense, like where you're keeping your Research Methods 1 files. So I'll go to Downloads, and then I'll take those three and put them into my Documents folder for Research Methods 1. Here we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to the lab sheet itself. Right there. All right, so we've got our CSV files, we have our lab sheet, and we have everything where we can access it. Our first task is to compute mean and standard deviation using Excel. So we'll open the Alpha Bravo file in Excel and start working with it there. Alpha Bravo CSV. It's going to open in Excel, and notice how you get this little notice at the top. It's saying that it wants you to save it as a Excel file, and that's one of the first things we need to do anyway. So we're going to save this Alpha Bravo, but now we're going to turn it into an Excel workbook. And let me bump this up so we can see what's going on here. So just looking at the data itself, like just take a minute to look at the data and see what we have here. We have the variable names across the top, and we have the cases along the rows here. So the cases go from Alpha to Zulu, and I can lock this first row down so that it doesn't scroll out of the way by going to View and freeze top row. So now when I scroll, the first header row will stay put, which is helpful. But what we want to look at is those continuous and categorical variables, right? Gender, is it going to be continuous or categorical? Gender is going to be categorical. I have males, females, and non-conforming, like non-binary, or I think there's, gender fluid. Those would be like a third category where I have male, female, and non-conforming. Age would be a continuous variable because more means more, and they are on a number scale. So I have a range of ages here. Ethnicity, would that be categorical or continuous? What do you think? And my scores are all number-based, and those are going to be continuous variables. So let's take a look at what we have on our lab sheet. We want to get the mean, which is like the average, and the standard deviation for the score values. The way we do that is with a formula. Anytime you're using formulas in Excel, they're going to start with an equal mark. So I want equal average, and that's like the function. And now it popped up this little helper, right? It says it wants the numbers that I'm going to be averaging. Well, I want to average all of these from Alpha's score all the way down to Zulu's score. So I kind of want all of those, and what I did was click the first one and drag. And once I've dragged and let go, I can close the parenthesis and hit enter. So this is going to be my mean for score 1, 6.07692308. A little much, right? But we can fix that in a minute. I also want the mean of score 2 and score 3. And what I can do is I can just type it in. Like when I've selected this cell, I can see there what the formula looks like. It's equal average, open parenthesis, the first cell, colon, the last cell. So I can do that same thing knowing that I'm on column F instead of column E over here. I can just type in the whole thing. Average would be F2 colon F27, close parenthesis, and enter. Right? So if you know the formula you want to write, you can just write it. Another easy thing to do is if I know I want the same formula in an adjacent cell, I can sneak up on this cell until my crosshair turns from white with a black outline to black with a white outline. And when it does that, I can just pull it over, and Excel automatically changes it from the F column to the G column because it knows that I wanted to move the referent. So that's pretty cool that you can just copy it that way. So that's my average, or my my mean for each of those scores, 1, 2, and 3. But I also need the SD, the standard deviation. So what I'm going to do with that is a different formula. This one always starts with equals, but it's STDEV, that one right there. And there's a lot of different types of standard deviation. You just want the plain Jane one, STDEV. It opens up the parenthesis. And again, we want those scores from Alpha to Zulu. And then close parenthesis and hit enter. So now I have the standard deviation for all of those scores together. How much is their spread, their measure of spread? And again, I can copy it over to the side, and now I have the standard deviation for each of those. And again, in APA, we don't typically report that many digits. For mean and standard deviation, we want to report up to one standard deviation, or one decimal point typically for mean and standard deviation in APA. So what I want to do here is grab those that need to be formatted. I'm going to come up to the menu ribbon. I'm in the home menu ribbon, and over here in the number formatting or the cell formatting, I'm going to drop this to number. And it already did 2 decimal places. I'm fine because I can round to 1. But if you want to change your decimal places, you can use those toggles in the top to change it to however many decimal places you want. So now we have the mean for score 1, 2, and 3, and the standard deviation for scores 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to save this, Control S for save, and this is one of the things I need to turn in for that homework, is the Alpha Bravo Excel file with your formulas in place. So not just the numbers, you have to have the formulas. So let's look at our next task. Now we're going to take the data from our scenario and import it into JASP. And to do this, we need to open JASP first. if you just click the file, the CSV file, it's going to open in Excel, and that's not what you want. So first download your file, put it where you need it, open JASP, and then you go to the menu to open and to your area, wherever you saved your file when you downloaded it from Canvas. So I'm going to want the ComputeMSD CSV, and it imports it. It imports it, but you always have to check when you import data, did it get it right? For example, our case number is just the case of that participant, so it's not supposed to be a continuous variable. It's a nominal variable. It's just the ID of that case. So you need to fix that. Group ID, again, it's just nominal. 1 is not more higher ranked than 2. They're just 3 different classes. So this would be a nominal type of measurement. College year, now 1 being freshman, 2 being sophomore, 3 being junior, and 4 being senior, you could see those in a rank system, right? So I'll leave that one as ordinal. But ethnicity, there's nothing that says 1 is a higher rank than 3 in ethnicity. So I'm going to change that to nominal. Same thing for gender. 1 and 2 are not ranked. They're just the numbers being used to tell us which, that one gender is 1 and another gender is 2. So it's nominal. Now, age of our participants, and remember, this is the perceptions of research methods data. This is all the ages of the students who participated in Professor Bob's study. So this one should be continuous. Same for the Big Five. Perceptions of research methods at time 1 is continuous, and perceptions of research methods at time 2 is continuous. So now it's all correct, and we're good there. So you read in the data, you have to check measurement type and make sure that JASP gets it corrected if it didn't get it right when it did the read-in, and identifying which variables are categorical and which are continuous. Our next task is computing mean and standard deviation in JASP. So this is super easy. We're going to go to the descriptives and start putting information into our input panel for the variables of perceptions of research methods at time 1 and perceptions of research methods at time 2. Because remember, Professor Bob measured his students at the beginning of the term and again at the end of the term. So let's go work on that. We want the descriptives icon, and that's going to open up our input panel. And then we want perceptions of research methods at time 1 and time 2. We're going to put those in the variables box, and already it starts filling in information. In the statistics fold down, we can tell JASP if we want other information or less information. Like if we don't want min and max, we could turn that off and have a smaller table, right? It depends on the information you're looking for to describe your variables. So we have the mean at time 1 at 3.97 and the mean at time 2 at 3.77 if you round it to 2 places. Again, APA, you typically round to 1 place. If you do that, we have 4.0 if we round to 1 place. And here we have 3.8 for rounding. And we have the standard deviation, which we can round to 1 place as well. And these are what you need for talking about in narrative, in a paragraph, the characteristics of these 2 variables. Perceptions of research methods at time 1 variable and perceptions of research methods at time 2 variable. we can export these results to save them as an HTML file. And that's all the type of file that JASP will export to. There's different ways. You can come up here to your results panel, and there's a place to export results on that drop-down. You can also go over to your menu and say export results to your computer, to your folder, and then you can give it whatever name helps you know what you're uploading. Like maybe I want to call this ComputeMSD results. And that way, when I go to grab this file and upload it to Canvas as my assignment, I know which one I'm picking up. So then our last task is writing a narrative description of those continuous variables. Write a brief explanation of the study, like say what Professor Bob was up to, and include the mean and standard deviation summary statistics for the perceptions of research methods at time 1 and the perceptions of research methods at time 2. And then you can end that paragraph with just a closing sentence, pretty much restating what you found, but not needing to put the numbers in again. Let's check out the Canvas page for the APA here. So for APA expectations, you're going to mind your margins and your double spacing, that your paragraph has a 0.5 indent on it. We don't need a title page, but you do need a level 1 heading, and you need to look at your statistics formatting. For M and the SD are italicized, but the numbers are not italicized, how many decimal places are appropriate, things like that. And you're uploading 3 files here. So you're going to do adding a file 3 times. You want your MS Word document of the paragraph. You want your Excel file from Alpha Bravo when you were doing your formulas. And you want the HTML results file that you exported to HTML. And the way that we're evaluating this is that it's complete. You have all the information that was asked for, and it's connected. You correctly identified the mean and standard deviation. You demonstrated your understanding how to compute mean and standard deviation, both in Excel and in JASP, and that your writing is neat, organized, and has no APA errors. So, looking forward to seeing your submissions, and I'll catch you later.